Good afternoon. As chairman of the Associated Student Speakers Program, I'd like to welcome you to our 13th program of the fall quarter. We're very pleased to have with us today the Credibility Gap, who will later answer questions from the audience. Now, the Credibility Gap.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I'm Harry Shearer of the Credibility Gap, and if you're wondering what happened to the other guys, don't worry. They'll be along. They're right backstage. Nothing serious. First, though, I'd like to get serious. You know, we were doing a news show for some 3 years here in the Los Angeles area, and during that time we were fired by two stations, KRLA and Kppc, both in Pasadena. There's one station in Pasadena that's left for us to go on if we learn Spanish. But we'll talk about that later. Right now, we're really excited because as a result of these events, we've kind of taken a new slant, and we're doing a brand new show, started about 2 weeks ago. It's on nationwide, a syndicated radio show called Luncheon with the Credibility Gap. Now, it's possible you haven't heard the show yet. There's a reason for that. We haven't sold it to a station in this market yet, but we're working on it, and pretty soon I think you'll be joining us for the fun at 10 minutes before and 10 minutes after lunchtime every day. It's an interesting show, and as I say, kind of different from what we've been doing. Every day we take the show to a different place here in the Southland where people eat and chat. And today we'll be telling a nationwide audience in just a couple of minutes that we're originating direct from the UCLA student cafeteria. Now, well, from the laughs, sure, this isn't the student cafeteria, and I'm aware of that. It's not really a lie. We had technical problems in getting in down there. It's too noisy, and besides, this room has a stage, so we thought it'd be better. So, during the show, when there are any references to the cafeteria or the food, don't react. It'll sound hokey, you know. Now, there's one other important fact to remember, and that's our famous feature on the show, the Lunch Bucket Forum. This is a part of the show a little later on where we ask people who are eating around us to step into the giant lunch bucket and pepper us with queries. Now, first thing, of course, there is no giant lunch bucket. We don't have the budget for that kind of thing. Secondly, when we ask for questions, and this is really important, please don't raise your hand or attempt to call out any kind of question. We've already selected a professional person to ask us questions during the program. Play along with this. I think we'll have fun. After the show, after we're off the air, we'll take questions. Okay, we're almost ready to go. We're almost going nationwide. One more thing before we start. We like to play a little game with the audience, kind of to give it a warm feeling before we begin the show. So, would everybody in the audience who has read the famous book by J.D. Salinger, Catcher in the Rye, would you applaud right now? Well, I guess they still teach English here. Now, would those who didn't applaud just then, please applaud right now? Okay, I've got a great idea. The guys backstage don't know anything about this. It'll be fine. I'll go backstage now, you'll hear the show begin. We'll open the curtain and we'll be introduced. Now, when we're introduced, will those of you who read the book and those of you who didn't applaud together real loud, and we'll have a great time. Thank you.
Live, on tape, direct from Hollywood, and around the world via the Westpec system, it's Luncheon with the Credibility Gap. A daily talk-type show for the tuna and celery stock set. Now from the UCLA student cafeteria just outside Hollywood, here they are, those goofy gourmets, Rich, Dave, Harry, and Mike, the Credibility Gap.
High noon, everybody, and thanks for turning us on.
You know, fellas, this student cafeteria is a far cry from the days the four of us went to school together.
Oh, boy.
I'll say, actually, it's one of the largest of such facilities in the nation, boasting almost 3 tons of stainless steel in grill work alone.
Hey, that's a heap of cooking, Dave, on both burners.
And on both burgers.
Oh, a good one, Rich. And, Say, speaking of burgers, Mike, what's that you've got on your tray? It looks like a burger.
It smells like a burger.
Well, fellas, it sure tastes like a burger.
Good, I'm glad I didn't step in it.
All right, Dave, but really, we should thank the fine folks here at the UCLA Food Services Department who scientifically planned today's menu, like all the menus here, for maximum nutritional outlook.
And say, Harry, all this talk of food is probably making John Q. lunchtime listeners' mouth water with his own particular brand of spittle. So, Dave, if you would be so kind as to take a left turn at your macaroni and peas, how about today's vocabulary-nogram?
I thought you'd never ask.
Hey.
Well, since we're back on campus, figuratively speaking, I thought maybe we'd try a tough one.
Oh, good.
Something that might help you pass a college board and not even look twice. Today's word is peptic, a type of ulcer that often results from swallowing your mouthwash.
Well, gee, Dave, you not only gave us a fine definition, you also put your elbow in my bread pudding.
Sorry, Rich. How peptic of me.
Down, boys. But you know, what would Luncheon with the Credibility Gap be without a slightly salty dose of our own patented topical humor, which is based on an actual story that got printed? Harry, where's today's story from, old buddy?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this week's New York Times reports on the following significant eventlet. Here it is in the paper. When 16-year-old Gary Samuelson applied for a job as bag boy at a local supermarket, he was told that his hair was too long.
Uh-oh.
He got a haircut, went back to the store, and was told that his hair was still too long. Well, twice more that day, Gary got $5 razor cuts, and each time he was turned down. Finally, he went home and told the story to his father. "If you really want the job that much, let me cut your hair," suggested his father, Ray, a local businessman.
What happened, Harry? I'm on the edge of my feet.
Well, Dave, Ray trimmed Gary's locks.
Who's Gary?
Okay, Dave. Then sent him back to the store. Well, it worked. Gary got the job, and police suspect foul play.
Gee, Harry, if Shakespeare were doing today's show, he'd probably call that the unkindest haircuts of them all.
Oh, look out.
All the same, Rich, it's lucky that fella didn't apply for the job in hot pants.
Well, why's that, Dave?
They would have made him cut off his legs.
Oh, easy, fellas, easy. Anyway, I hope we didn't offend anyone too strongly during today's topical humor segment. It's read slowly for your amusement and not to be taken as ridicule.
And the shortest distance between the ridiculous and the sublime is via our own very own lunch bucket forum. Does somebody here in the cafeteria have a question for us? Anybody, anyone at all?
Come on now.
Doesn't have to be about aspirin. You, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering, you guys are into what's going on. Whatever happened to Madam New?
Gee, I couldn't hear that at all. Sounded like an interesting question, though. Where's our engineer? Oh, Phil. Phil, can we get a mic to that guy? Yes, we can, Dave. Okay, would you repeat the question, sir?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Great.
fine.
All right. Yes, whatever happened to Madam New?
Oh, gee, that's a tough one. Rich, you saw a documentary on Vietnam once. Why don't you feel that one?
Glad to. I believe Madame New is in Paris.
Oh, well, what's she embarrassed about?
Well, the food's so much better there.
Uh-huh.
And
Thank
speaking
you.
of food, it's just about time for us to be fed up for today. Be sure to join us tomorrow when Luncheon with the Credibility Gap broadcasts direct from Hollywood's beautiful new Entre. But, say, don't tell anybody, it's strictly entre nous.
So if you will, set an extra place on your dial for ours truly. And remember, if pollution's such a big problem, how come they don't have smog in Biafra? Bye-bye.
So long.
Bye now. So long. Have a good day.
Luncheon with the Credibility Gap is a Uni-Rhinovax leisure service.
Yes, that makes a difference.
Oh, I have to get my own, huh? Okay.
Thanks, Rich.
You gonna share?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now, this is the exciting part. And no bullshit here, really, if you know what I mean.
Hey, Harry.
Can we have some interesting questions?
Some uninteresting questions.
Any questions? Anybody want to ask us anything? Well, thank you.
First question now. Why
All
were
right.
you fired both from KRLA and KPC?
The question was, could you hear that question? No. Why were we fired from both KRLA and KPPC? It was a
have an
package
answer?
deal.
Yeah. We had to take both. We couldn't take either.
Yeah.
So,
We were fired from KRLA and well, no, gee, it wasn't the same reason.
no,
was it?
well, you can lump it under one, heading as managerial problems, but that means everything. That's like, 2001. It's like, everything. So,
2001 problems.
yes, right.
That you can use.
But they were totally different managerial problems, both stemming from managers, which, is where they get the name. But the managers were so different, and the managerial... Somebody want to save me here?
Yeah, Mike.
Go ahead, Mike, you're doing fine.
Well, I don't even know the name of the... You
At
go.
KRLA, we were fired because the station was going top 40, and the people there really didn't think that we fit into a top 40 format. At KPPC,
Who's going top 40?
Well, it was going more top 40. They were going to like top 39.
Yeah.
And at KPPC, we were fired because the station was going top 40, and they didn't think that's what we suspect. But really, so far, all we've been told, as you know, nobody's really been told why they were fired from KPPC. It's kind of a state secret or something. But we were told we were fired because they didn't have the money, which, subtracting for sponsorship, which made up most of the cost of the show, came to like $300 a week. So,
Radio stations make more than that, more than $300 a week.
by
So did
stealing
we.
from their cleaning lady.
Yes.
Now that we've broken the ice, how about you?
Over there.
Anyway, yes.
No, there was a fella back there about 4
Yeah, with
rows
striped
back.
shirt, right.
And we're not going to let you get out of it.
No. Can't take that
Yeah.
hand back.
Okay.
Stand up. Stand up and say your question. Is that the...
Oh, who does Nixon?
Harry.
I do Nixon, but I'm not going to do him here. No, I'm not into David Fry type stuff, like that visually, and it's basically a vocal impression. Yeah. Second row. Did we think censorship had anything to do with our being fired?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
yes and
for
no.
KRLA, no.
Yes for me, no for Dave.
No. Yes.
Oh, it's maybe fear of being pressured into censorship by some unseen outside force, perhaps. I mean, there was no like. You follow me? No, there was like there
Something
was.
sinister, you mean?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
A specter. No, but it was like things got to the edge. I think. No, I don't know what I'm talking about.
They got to the edge of night as we engaged in a search for tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
No.
Censorship is always a factor with us, I think. And though they can't say censorship because they would be in trouble with.
And although they can't arrest your
FCC.
music, I think we should point that out.
Yeah.
They can't bust your music.
Eric Burden
Oh.
pointed that out
Yeah.
before. It's all right.
That's all.
Yeah. No, we
So
were never.
censorship was not a problem.
But in a way. No,
It was a quandary, however.
Well, what it was we were never censored while we were on the air at KPBC. It was probably the freest situation in radio today, except of course for KHJ. But no, those guys really can say anything they want. That's all they can think of. But I think the very fact that we were so unrestrained and in an unrestrained situation where we were free to do anything we want might have been one reason why management said,
That's scary.
that's scary, let's not do that anymore. And so in effect that was, firing is the ultimate censorship.
That's good.
Right over
That'll be
there.
a sampler. Two-piece.
Only 2 P's.
Two-piece.
PPs, not PPPs.
I'm sorry.
What was the question? Is it dead?
Dead.
Well, it's still PPing.
Grab for the pee-pee jokes, Dave. Quick.
Now Now you know how low we can get. Stay tuned for how high.
It's, I don't know whether it's blue and panting. And
Well, that
it's
depends what you mean by
rampant.
KPPC. The radio station didn't go off the air. It continues with another crew and another philosophy of programming. The people who were doing the old KPPC are negotiating for a new radio station. And if they get it, then they will go there and won't be KPPC anymore.
Yeah.
But the station couldn't go off the air. I mean, they don't die.
They just got the new transmitter.
They molder. Yes.
Also, there's a petition going around here that you guys signed and it's to give, I think, all you guys will do back in the air. Is that what you said?
I think there are going to be hearings in Washington about them soon, but other than that, it didn't have any effect. No, petitions always scare me for some reason.
Washington scares me here.
I went here during days when this was the Little Red Schoolhouse, quotes. But no, I'll tell you, I think the purpose of the petitions was to attempt to show management, and we didn't have any part in it. I'm speaking basically as an outsider. The petitions were meant to show management that there was public support for the radio station. It was also meant to show the Commission, Federal Communications Commission, that because the station's license is up for renewal. However, if nobody filed a challenge to their license, and I don't believe anybody did, the Commission never takes away licenses without being asked to by somebody. So, in that sense, and it seems now that the station has decided that although they tell us they're through some sources that they're losing money, I think they've decided that they're going to go with what they've got now. So in a concrete sense, no, the petitions didn't help. I don't know what that means.
But they were read just for pure entertainment value. Widely.
I mean, they certainly were a morale booster for the, for the guys to know that they were not just being forgotten right away, and probably in that sense emboldened them to go out and get another radio station, which they're working on. That's a more intangible benefit from them. Yes. Firesign Theater.
Firesign Theater?
Those are the Oriental and the Mexican.
They're a much larger group.
Yeah. No, as a matter of fact, I asked David Osman of the Firesign Theater. We really talk. We don't fight.
Touch and everything.
There's no feud, regardless of what you read in the columns.
Except between us and Jack Parr.
Yeah, that feud's real.
That's real.
I asked David why he had been fired, and he said that he got a runaround when he tried to get an explanation. So apparently, no explanation for firings is a KPPC tradition since 1968.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Someone saw it.
Yeah. Can't believe that.
How many people? Now this isn't what was your, aside from us? I mean, I'm not assuming that we were your favorite part or not, but just to get us out of consideration, with us not included, what was your favorite part of Economic Love-In?
It was the puppet, I bet.
Oh, I mean, besides, Was
Yeah.
it? Did you find it dull?
At all?
No, because I mean, it could be us. We could just find it dull because the rest of it wasn't us. But well, thank you.
Did you learn something from what we did? Never to watch that?
I'd like to make it clearer at this point that we had no part in the selection of the name of that program.
Oh, boy.
And we're kind of appalled when we got a little note saying, "Congratulations, you're going to be on Economic Love-In," which was a show that was on Channel 28 for those of you who didn't see it. In answer to getting around to your question, are we going to do any more television?
Yes.
Yeah.
If we sure, watch for us. The
What?
KPPC album. The question was, when is the KPPC album going to be out? Anytime within the next 4 weeks, supposedly.
Excuse me, Harry, I think there may be, I heard a kind of a rumple of what the hell was that coming from the ground. Maybe some people don't know there's going to be a KPPC album. Maybe you could...
Plug the album, Harry.
Maybe some, yeah. And so long, everybody.
See you in calc.
Well, the KPPC people put together an album which is not nearly as much of a jerk-off as it sounds. Like, I was afraid it was going to be mainly a very maudlin recitation of the end of the station, and there's some of that for about 3 minutes on side 2, but the rest of it is pretty much done for entertainment value, and it's kind of the highlights of the station as seen by some of the people who were involved in the station. There's some records that Dr. Demento made popular, like Pico and Sepulveda and a couple like that. And there's some stuff.
Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, Doc, they love you. And there's some stuff that we did, and there's some stuff from the Dave Mason concert, and from the Dan Hicks live broadcast, and from the Leon Russell simulcast, and some other things too. So it's basically an entertainment album that's kind of a sampler of what would be heard on the station at any one time. And it called KPPC's Greatest Hits, and it should be out shortly after Christmas, so that you're too poor to buy it.
Are you on radio anywhere here?
You mean besides luncheon with the Credibility?
Yeah. That's not heard here.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
No, nothing other than that.
No, if KPPC's people get another station, it's quite possible that we'll be on the air again with them, or somewhere else, or listen for some commercials we did.
Yeah.
Boy, that'll be exciting, huh?
Boy. You'll want to hear them again and again, and you will.
Designed for easy repetition.
Yeah.
Yes. How long does it take us to make up a script? And how do we think of the ideas?
Well,
Info.
when we were working daily on the radio, it was like needless to say, the greater portion of the day. Well, I don't know. I guess it was the greater portion of the day was spent in yes, that's true. Well, you spend over 1/3 of your life in bed, you know. It's a health tip. But no, most of the day was, I guess. I'm trying to think now.
We throw the difficult ones Mike's way because
He feels them anyway.
yeah.
It was about 2/3 was spent writing, right?
2/3 of what?
What we worked, the amount of time we worked, or maybe about 2.5 was spent writing.
Yeah, we break it down to mathematics. We would.
That's what I was trying to do.
We'd get there at noon. We'd write till 3. We'd tape till 5:30, and you'd hear the show at 6 or at 11. If you heard it at 11, there'd be a long pause. I mean, between the time we did it.
Yeah.
So that it would take us about 3 hours to write a show, and a show would be one 15-minute daily thing, whatever it was.
And where do we get our ideas, Harry?
Newspapers.
Yeah.
Magazine.
Wire services.
Wire services. The funny things that people say and do. You know,
we try to barbecue a few sacred cows, puncture a few favorite balloons.
Life is a carnival.
Yeah.
Yes. Pardon?
I've met him.
Oh, tell him about how you met him.
Tell them about how you met him.
Richard tells us great meeting Sam.
He was coming out of the John, remember? You told us, yeah.
At the luncheon.
Yeah, talk about the luncheon a little bit.
Well, he has a luncheon.
And they wait. Let me do.
You can get close to the microphone. You want to take your shirt off or anything?
He has a luncheon every month for the press people, and so I went one time to several times, and everything he says is off the record there, and he's very
And the food is off the
chummy,
plate.
and they have a big table filled with booze for everybody, and so I asked him about a song that he wrote. Did you hear he wrote a song called
Taking me back to Italy. Taking me back to Italy. Tony.
Taking Me Back.
Tony,
That's
taking
the
me.
title.
Tony taking me back.
To Italy.
And Taking Me Back to Italy, Tony Taking Me Back. And he wrote it years ago when he was a lawyer in Boyle Heights.
What else? See,
Yeah.
that makes a lot more sense than writing it when you're mayor.
Right.
And so I brought up the song to him, and I asked him, I forget what I said about it. And
This is a good part of the story coming up where Richard forgets.
There's no punchline.
Did he remember writing the song?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it came great.
But he brushed me off right after that. I mean, he just left me.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah.
I mean, if he had lint all over you.
Working in the men's room.
That was
Before he was a lawyer, he was working in the men's room.
brushed him off. Incidentally, that came up later. Somebody found out about the song on a news program on Channel 4 and asked him about it. And he said that it was a kind of a takeoff on Italians, and wouldn't sound so funny today. He was asked if he would recite some of the lyrics. He said, "Well, it wouldn't sound so funny today. It was written in a dialect, and that was popular then, and people had more of a sense of humor in those days." And the reason
And he
that
did his
Rich-
gimp bit.
limped off stage. The reason that Rich happened to know about it was because the guy who wrote the words to Yordi's music was the father of an engineer at KRLA, which shows you just how media and politics really intertwine these days. Yes. Well, the Firesign Theater was taken.
No. How did we form the critical?
Oh.
I wasn't there. I was in New York minding my own business.
Well, I'll
That's
take
true.
this. Well, the Credibility Gap was originally formed with Richard as the only original member of that, and that was about, 4 years ago on KRLA. And then I started working there part-time, and Harry started working there part-time, and then we started working there full-time, and then before we knew it, we were the Credibility Gap because the other people had left except for Richard. And then Michael came from New York towards the end of our KRLA stint and joined us at Kppc. And that's it.
Fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
David
Really good.
David leaves out some of the intriguing details that we found. David, for example, I came to the Gap about 3 months before David, and in January of 1969, Asian flu struck the Southland, as you may remember.
Boy.
And we were all sick. And a friend of ours said that she knew this guy who worked on our answering service, who gave her real funny messages. And well, I know it's a heartwarming show business story, but that was David.
Heavy breathing.
Incredible.
And David came in and worked that day and made more money than he'd made on the answering service in the last year. And the guy actually called him up and asked him, when David started working full-time with us, and asked him if he wanted to pick up an extra $10 working Saturday nights. And David said yes.
That's the heartwarming part. Never forgets a friend.
So, yeah, and I joined by sending in a tape to the radio station. So it was kind of weird. It just kind of coalesced over a period of time.
In the morning?
In the morning.
Because we don't get up until noon.
No. To do what we do in terms of doing a radio show is like really a full-time gig. And therefore, we have to look to it for some source of sustenance. It has to in some way buy the meat and potatoes or soybeans and brown rice. And KPFK just doesn't have the money to make it worth our while. Sounds cynical and all that, but as I say, it does take like 6 to 8 hours to do a show, and that doesn't leave us much time for going off and doing anything else to earn money. So that, and the other reason is that we haven't been offered it.
It's the secondary reason.
Yeah. Pride cometh first, though.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, it's really ironic that we're off the air at just the time that we've dreamed about for the last 3 years.
Right, with the Oxnard flood and everything. I was really wanting to cover that.
No.
Oh. I don't know. That's a news story to me.
Yeah. Well, we could have, yeah.
Yeah.
But we have dreamed, you know, about Sam Yorty becoming a national figure for 3 years because people have always said, well, that's a great thing to do, but, you know, nobody's going to know that in New York. Which, in a way, isn't true because if you grew up in Los Angeles, you grew up listening to Mayor Wagner jokes and Mayor Lindsay jokes on television, and they don't care if people in the rest of the country don't know who those guys are. They'll tell those jokes. So why can't we do our Mayor Yorty stuff? Anyway, it's really nice that he's become a national figure, but yeah, and if we get back on the air, we will certainly give him his role.
And his butter, too. Sorry.
And his pounded steak.
That's my neck.
Is the Credibility Gap going to make any more records? No.
Yeah. Well, look, yes and no. I mean, you know.
Not with capital.
No, yeah.
Did you see George Harrison talking about capital on the Dick Cavett show the other night? Well, he was talking about Bhaskar Menon. Bhaskar Menon is the Indian who heads capital at this month, and he is apparently holding up the release of the Bangladesh benefit album because he wants to make some bread off of it. And George went into some length at how pusillanimous he thought that was, and how he had no respect for capital and the people who ran it. And we were hoping he'd say that.
Yeah, it was nice to
It
hear
speaks
that.
our feelings,
It's
exactly.
nice to hear that said over your local airwaves rather than just, you know, son of a bitch,
Sumi
you know, sitting around like
he
that.
said. Sumi
Yeah,
Bhaskar.
it's great.
It's really nice. So we're talking to other record companies about making other records, or the same record, over again.
Yeah, the
Improved,
parts that were left
fixed
out
up.
of Woodstick.
Fixed up.
Right over there.
How did you get the destination music program? Why did it go off the air?
How did Harry get the
Dave?
Destination Music
Oh,
program?
answer that,
And
Dave.
why did it go off the air? Well, Harry got that because connections. He knew Les Carter, who at the time was program director there, and he was the first one to know Les. And of course, his show eventually led to our show on Kppc. And Harry was still working at KRLA at the same time, you know, so
boy.
it was kind of wild. And at any rate, Harry left it because he lives by the beach and he felt he'd like to spend his Sundays soaking up old Sol, and that's the whole story.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Glenn.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Thank you. If we don't see you, please call out or dance.
If you don't see us, call out.
Huh? Sure, but I don't do it on the...
Come on.
You wanted to...
I do Lance Peebles, and that was the question. I mean, I thought Harry did it, and I'm just...
No, he asked if you would do Lance Peebles.
To Harry. But Harry never does it, except to me. But I do that. I'm not, no.
Yeah, so I won't do it. No, it's a funny thing about being asked to do like radio voices, just kind of ad lib on stage.
To no one in particular. I mean, if we were going to read a sketch now or do a sketch using those characters, it would be a little easier to get into it, you know.
It's like
Needless to
if you
say.
saw David Fry on the Dick Cavett show the other night, he did something that was like really interesting to me, because when Cavett asked him to do somebody, he'd reach into his pocket and take out a photograph of the guy and look at it. He said, well, I look at it, it shows me how to look, or something like that.
He was looking at a picture of himself, though, which was so strange. I didn't get it.
But I mean, that's like impressionism, which is different from like doing characters, and so it's very hard for us to get into. I mean, we don't have pictures of these people because they don't exist, except of course for the president. And so it's difficult for us to get it behind doing them. It's not that we, you know, are on any kind of trip. It's just a hard thing to do, so we like not to do it.
Yeah.
Sam Yorty. Just Plain Sam is...
The
is-
secret's
Oh,
out.
who, you mean who does the who
Who narrates it, or who
Yeah,
does,
who narrates
does the
it.
voice of Yorty? Richard narrates it, and the voice of Sam Yorty is done by Sam Yorty. As a matter of fact,
When
those
we
are
do sketches on Yorty, Harry does.
Yeah.
Yorty's voice.
but those are actually excerpts from Yorty's press conferences, things he really says. It's interesting too because we had access to a news service which gave us excerpts, audio excerpts from his news conferences, and they would never select the stuff that we would select. They would always select him, you know, saying something mock serious about sewers or something, and they missed what we thought was really the newsworthy parts of his press conference. You know, it's just a difference in judgment, I guess.
All right.
Background music.
What?
The organ is done by Porter Heaps.
Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah.
There's an album out of Chicago called Organ Melodies or something.
Out of Chicago.
Out of Chicago. as soon as they can. And the guy's name is Porter Heaps, and we've got one copy of it. If we ever lose it, we're sunk because the record company went out of business. So if any of you know how to play Claire de Lune on the organ, would you see us after the show so we can get your name, just in case?
Yes? Yeah, we will. See, we didn't. No, it was a strange thing. Yesterday, now we worked on what we did today. Might as well all out front, right? What we did today, we worked on for 3 days in various spurts, and spurts they were. And yesterday, we all of a sudden we went, Jesus Christ, what are we doing? What are we going to do?
This isn't true.
Yeah, Harry says it's not true, but well, you know. And we were thinking of just reading sketches, but then every time someone mentioned reading a sketch, it was never mentioned wholeheartedly anyway. We never said, let's read a sketch, damn it, it'll be great, because we just had a feeling that sitting around with the scripts has to be played on. It has to be part of the joke, you see. I mean, but if you're doing characters, am I lost again?
We don't let Mike talk much.
If you're sing, boy, sing. When you're doing characters, it's like it gets in the way unless you're going to be standing there, and then it's very static, and it would bore us, you know, and probably bore everyone else. If you mean, do we have something prepared that we can move around and do that's memorized? No, we don't.
Yeah. See, the thing is, doing a radio show every day. You can't memorize it because you're doing one every day, right? And we're reading it. And so we have, the TV show was the first time we actually had to do that thing of performing by learning material from memory and, you know, running around doing it. We're just getting into that. We don't have a stage act as of yet. We talk every time we get unemployed about putting one together. But that means you have to go play nightclubs or something. We've gotten, I might point out, 2 offers in the past 2 weeks to play Las Vegas, both from the Reno Convention Authority.
We got to wear little hats, though.
But I mean, Jesus, you know, play Las Vegas. That's silly.
Yeah.
We'll do it, but it's silly. So, in answer to your question, I'm sorry, we don't.
I wish we did.
We will
now.
next time. Any? Yes. Why do we choose to do a show every day rather than a long show once a week?
More money. Where you get paid more if you do 5 shows than if you do 1. But also because 15 minutes is long enough for us. If we have that, if we had like, anyway, I don't think we could do like a 3-hour show that would be particularly interesting.
We used to do longer shows on KRLA on Sunday, which were compilations of our weekly shows. And they were done for the most bizarre of reasons. They were done because the station had committed itself to the Federal Communications Commission to provide a larger amount of news coverage than they were at the moment providing. So they said, why don't you slap your sketches together for half an hour a week, we'll run it twice and get credit for an hour's worth of news. Swear to God. So that's how those shows came about. And it was our feeling that half an hour at the real outside is about as much as anybody could stand of that once a week. And half an hour, you know, isn't as much as 15 minutes once a day, if you just figure it out.
Yeah.
And if we get paid by the minute, then it's just advantageous. We may, but I mean, in contradistinction to all that, we may well do a weekly show on the news station that the Kppc people get, rather than a daily show that's yet to be worked out.
Yeah. How about a question from those of you leaving?
Oh, there's a gentleman.
A true gentleman, sir. Yes.
Does Richard Beebe still talk well with his hands, like he did on Great American Dream Machine?
Say that louder.
No, he still talk well with his hands.
Does Richard Beebe still talk well with his hands?
No, it's David you're thinking of.
Yeah, I think he's thinking of David.
David L. Lander.
There he is.
Short guy.
Yeah, I still do.
That's a reference to a thing that is now playing at the Plaza Theater in Westwood.
Are you kidding?
incidentally.
Is it? Say this.
Along with Long Ago Tomorrow, which I don't hear is a very good movie, but if you want to pay $2 to see a 10-minute short, Well, you know, students have a lot of money these days. There's a short which he's referring to, which was shown on Great American Dream Machine, called Albert Brooks's Famous School for Comedians, which Richard and David performed in. Richard was instructing the class as to the correct place on the face to put pies, and David was telling a joke using his hands to express gestures.
And it
It's
was
a funny short.
filmed entirely on the UCLA campus, so if you get a kick out of seeing your old classroom, you know, on a big screen, that's good.
And paying $2 for a bum picture as well.
Royce Hall in black and white is a thrilling sight. Yes. Anybody else? Anything at all. Doesn't have to be about asthma.
Yeah?
What was that record that you used in the background of the West Mountain?
The record that
That was us doing that. No.
we had more production time. That's Hip Hug Her by Booker T and the MGs from the Stax album Memphis Gold Volume 2.
Incredible.
It is actually the album that is
10 minutes past the hour.
10 minutes before the hour, actually. And it's actually the album that's used in the Columbia School of Broadcasting commercials. We don't have a research staff, but somehow we ferreted that fact out.
Yeah.
Wait, we've
Yeah.
got time for just one more question, so go
Because,
ahead.
yeah, people got to split.
Where can we get a copy of Lance Peebles at the pharmacy?
Of Lance Peebles at the pharmacy.
That was the prophylactic.
Is that the one where he buys prophylactics?
Yeah, where can we get a copy of that, tape or whatever?
Well, you can come to my house. Play it for you once.
We used to send out tapes from the radio station, and then we got hopelessly bogged down in sending out tapes and promising tapes and getting behind. So we, especially now that we don't have access to tape duplicating facilities, it's come to David's house or nothing.
Yeah.
Until
And that's
they,
nothing, believe me.
That might be on the album.
Until they set up a comedy Muzak, and then you'll hear it in elevators all over town.
I'd like to make an announcement. For those of you that are interested, Monday we're having Dr. Benjamin Spock here on campus, who just recently became presidential candidate. So if you're interested, he'll be here at 12 noon Monday. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Like the advocate.
Da, 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 da.